Hello and welcome to Boomer Live once again. We have Jen with us as he's back from his Goa vacation, and
Yeah.
we are here to be talking about India versus Australia. As India have convincingly won this game by a good 5 wicket margin, and obviously, we are here to talk about the game as India are also the number one team in all three formats. So that's a big feat in itself to be number one in all three formats at the same time. And it's no small feat because India have consistently performed well in one day internationals this year, leading into the World Cup. One worry which we all had was how India were going to perform. And today, captain KL Rahul finishing it off with a six, and obviously he's scoring valuable runs, batting at number 4 as well. And Surya Kumar Yadav back amongst runs by scoring a 50 and chasing a tricky total of 276 at the end of the day. I've Jen with me. Jen, what did you make of the entire total and the game? Because very interesting game indeed.
Oh yeah. For me, Abel, I genuinely felt like Australia kind of struggled because they were playing South Africa for so long. I had kind of watched. I'd watched a few matches in that series, and to come from this from South African, I mean, from South African pitches to Indian pitches, I think that adaptation from the batters is something that they failed in, because if you look at most of the wickets today, that fell, like especially the wickets that Shami took, for instance, the wicket of starting with the wicket of Mitch Marsh, and
Yep.
then towards the wicket of Steve Smith, or be it the wicket of I think it was also I think the third wicket that he took, where again it was a chop onto the stumps.
Hmm.
All of those wickets, you felt like they were trying to play for the pace of South African pitches,
Hmm.
and that low bounce, from where the off the good length you can still hit the stumps in the Indian subcontinent. That kind of made it difficult for Australia, and it was not an easy pitch to bat on for sure, because for the first time in a long time, I would say, Abel, that you remember the 2011 World Cup,
Yeah.
when the ball used to get old and it used to
Very
get
aggressive, you mean?
muddy, and yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it used to pick up grass and
Oh,
dirt from the pitch. Very similar to what we saw today as well, especially in the first innings. You felt like there was a very similar situation today. So it's also, I feel, a sign of things to come on how, as to how this World Cup is going to be.
yeah, definitely. So that's one of the things we have to definitely talk about as well when we talk about the entirety of this game. Obviously, with Mohali, one thing which you always get is the surface.
Yeah.
One is a very flat surface, what you get under lights. And today also you saw that towards the Indian batting in the second innings. Under lights, the pitch does get much better to bat on
Yeah.
in comparison with how it is in the daytime. We've seen that in the IPL as well. Once the lights are on, there's something about the Mohali surface which makes it much more easier to bat, isn't it?
But I mean, today was not that kind of a surface, though, you would have to say, right? I mean, usually Mohali pitch, you feel like you're batting on two different pitches, especially because the dew comes in. But I don't know if today dew was a factor at all in any way, to be very frank. It just seemed, that there wasn't any dew, and you saw Zampa and especially Matt Shot really turning the ball. The ball was gripping and turning. So it just felt like India utilized the new ball a lot better than Australia did. I think there's also a reason for that. I felt if you followed the series, right, a lot of those issues that Australia had during the South Africa series kind of stumbled onto this series as well, because I felt when they were being uber aggressive, Australia, it worked in the first two one days for them, but in the next three one days you saw their middle order collapse quite a lot. So today it just felt like Australia were a bit more wary when they were batting on these pitches to not lose a lot of wickets, and because of that, I don't think they scored heavily in that first 15-20 overs, whereas if you look at India, they scored 101, 102 runs very quickly, both Shubman Gill, and then subsequently once he settled down, Rituraj Gaikwad also, you saw them really settle into it. But once the spinners were introduced, once you saw that the ball got slightly older, it was really tough to bat, even for Indian batters. They really slowed down, because
Yeah.
at one point in time they required some, I think, 120, 110 runs to win off 150 deliveries, 140 deliveries. So India were really good right off the block. They probably understood that the new ball is important to go after. And
Yep.
it also felt like Australian opening ballers did not have the steam. Pat Cummins bowled brilliantly, but both Sean Abbott and also Marcus Stoinis, not someone you would give the new ball to, really did not seem to have the teeth that someone like Mohammad Shami or someone like Josh Hazelwood had.
Yeah, absolutely. And the most important thing I felt today was Australia lacked a spinner. If
Hmm.
Australia would have had an extra spinner, Ashton Agar, or maybe maybe Tanveer Sangha for the matter, maybe things could have been slightly different. I really did not understand the need of playing Matthew Short. Firstly, you're playing him at number 8, and he's a top order batter. That you're making him ball, which he is barely ball. I mean, he balls decent off breaks, but what is the point of having Matthew Short in the team? I think we'll talk about India in depth because there was some really good. I think there were some exemplary performances, but we have to talk about Matthew Shaw's inclusion in that team, because for me it was an absurd 11, to be very honest. I mean, it's like playing a Shreyas Iyer at number 8 for me, or a Surya Kumar Yadav at number 8 and say that, or Tilak Verma at number 8 and say that you're
Yeah, Tilak Verma is the best example, I would say. Yeah.
or and say that you can ball a little bit of off break. Maybe if you go that way, that's how you can look at things. But I found it very absurd, to be very frank.
So I think the only reason they played Matt Shot today was because they don't have a Travis Head in the
Yeah,
squad. But then I don't know if that was really needed as well. Probably they felt like someone like a Manas Labuschagne couldn't be that useful for them because he's also a leg spinner.
yeah,
And then you have two leg spinners, and you probably wanted someone to be able to counter the likes of Ishan Kishan and Ravindra Jadeja when they came on to bat, or if and when they came on to bat.
yeah.
But again, I kind of agree with you. I just felt they could have added an Ashton Agar to the squad. Um, it just genuinely feels like what you said. Tilak Verma, if he can ball off spin, we'll play him somewhere, and you couldn't play him till number 7 because your batters are everyone till number 7. Maybe except for Josh English, who again was included because Alex Carey wasn't playing today. So the only reason why he was included was because he can ball off spin, which is very absurd because that's I think his third skill. I think he's a better fielder and a better batter than he's an off spinner.
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, it's a proud moment for South Asia as well, because India number one in all formats. For South Asia, at least, this is a big deal,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
no
yeah.
South Asia team has done it previously. But yeah, just talking about which, let's talk about Indian team. First and foremost, Mohammad Shami picking up 5 wickets.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a big, big boost for him. I mean, we spoke about Siraj being there because he's picked up 5 wickets. Now, what do you do? Now, Mohammad
uh,
Shami has equaled that as well.
for me, I would still say Siraj and Bumrah because
But why can't
Siraj
you have
can,
three
because you're playing on Indian conditions, you probably need an extra spinner because today,
extra spinner?
yeah, I mean you would probably need a Kuldeep
Okay,
Yadav
on
or
a day when you need an extra spinner, fine.
yeah.
But what I'm talking about is, why do you need a Shardul Thakur now?
You don't need a Shardul Thakur, yes, when Hardik Pandya is playing. Now, if today Hardik Pandya was playing, I would have, or if any team when Hardik Pandya plays, I don't think you need a genuine bits and pieces cricketer like Shardul Thakur. I mean,
No, the question was the batting
yeah,
depth, isn't it? Does batting depth get resolved if you can restrict 20 runs by picking up those extra 2 wickets?
fair enough. But then I think Shardul Thakur today played also as a fifth bowling option, right?
I'm not talking about
Uh,
today. I'm just not talking about. I'm just talking about
when
going ahead in
yeah,
future.
when Hardik Pandya plays, I will definitely be the. I'll probably be one of those people who will probably exclude the likes of exclude the likes of Shardul Thakur from the team because at this point in time, it just doesn't seem like he's doing much. He did start off really well. He balled a decent spell to start off. The first 3 overs are very good, and one of those catches being dropped of David Warner by Shreyas Iyer, he got into a very awkward position. I think he made it tougher for himself than he should have. But aside from that, you felt like Shardul Thakur wasn't really contributing to the team. If a Hardik Pandya plays, I think he now really his position in this team will be questioned
Yeah,
because then you can include the three of them. Now, if you have a Hardik Pandya, then I mean Bumrah, Siraj, you easily have options up the top. You don't even need to ball Mohammad Shami in the death like you had
right.
to today because you only had 5 ballers.
Uh-huh.
So best way for me to go forward is get. I mean, it's early days. I know we're probably reacting to one match as well, but that
No, that's been
Mohammad Shami
always a
can
stay,
do.
right? The issue is that
Yeah.
why were you playing Shardul just based on the 40, 50 wickets he's picked? I would say he's picked up some good wickets, but
But
majorly it's not been
what you
against the
saw
best
today,
of
Abel,
them.
also was during the David Warner Steve's partnership. Right? He was the one to open the lid up, that lid of, I mean, the kind of pressure that India had put Australia under, where they bottled Australia, even Smith and Warner were not given easy singles. But then someone like a Shardul Thakur comes in and the flow of runs start to begin. And he does end up spraying some of those deliveries. And something in a one day format where, wickets is not when batters are not really looking to attack and looking to capitalize on bad deliveries. Even one bad delivery by Shardul Thakur where he gives a little bit of room is just enough for the batters to make good of 7 runs per over is enough. And Shardul Thakur today was guilty, I would say, of giving those runs away.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I have Sandipani with us finally. How are you doing, Sandipani? And welcome back on Number 11 once again. Yeah, no, just talking about the game in entirety. We were just talking about the point where we were talking about how Shardul Thakur could be a liability in these big games. I know you have got your own opinion on Shardul Thakur, and that's one of the reasons why I just wanted to start off by asking with you, like, what do you really reckon about Shardul Thakur in this team now with Mohammad Shami, Mohammad Siraj, and at the same time when you have someone like Justin Bumrah also there in your 11.
Yeah, I think it is going to be very difficult for Shardul Thakur to maintain his place because I've always maintained the opinion that whenever they are, I mean, Shardul Thakur is batting, he looks like a bowler, and whenever he's bowling, he looks like a batter. He has picked up quite a lot of wickets since the 2019 World Cup. He is India's highest wicket taker since 2019 World Cup, but that is mainly because of the time in which he bowls. Majorly, he bowls in those middle over periods along with a spinner who is building up the pressure from one end. So batters tend to go after Shardul Thakur and give away their wickets. And also, I'm not a huge fan of the wicket taking deliveries that Shardul Thakur bowls, because if you look at the wickets that Shami picks up, or Siraj picks up, Bumrah picks up, you would see that in the initial phase, uh, a lot of edges carry on to slip, and a lot of inside edges bowled, LBW, everything comes into picture. But Shardul Thakur, predominantly, you see batters getting out caught behind, of the leg side, or probably caught at a mid wicket or
Yeah,
covers. So that's not ideal. But you should have a bowler. I mean, in an ideal scenario, you should have a bowler like that, just so that batters target and give away their wickets. And he is. I mean, today was not his day, but even in some of the last matches in the Asia Cup as well, he came in. He chipped in with one or two wickets in the middle. But with the bowling firepower that India has right now, I don't see even a Mohammad Shami after this performance. I don't see him playing. If Hardik Pandya is, I mean, Hardik Pandya will obviously play. So you have Hardik Pandya, Ravindra Jadeja, Kuldeep Yadav, Bumrah, Siraj, and you just have that one spot.
that's number
Who,
8.
yeah, that's number 8. So I think that is going to go between Shardul Thakur or Ashwin, depending on the
Ashwin,
conditions.
you still think you'll make it to the
Yeah,
World Cup squad?
I feel if Akshar Patel is not fit by the 28th, then I feel Ashwin is in the front runner for that
Yeah,
position. And
yeah,
also, if India wants to have that combination of three spinners in the middle, if in a
yeah.
spinning track, you can obviously have Jadeja, Ashwin, and Kuldeep Yadav. You saw how Australia were taking on Ashwin coming after this long hiatus. He was at one point considered 34 runs of 5.1 overs, and in the
Yeah.
last 29 deliveries, he just considered 13 runs and picked up that wicket as well. So you with Ashwin, you always have that insurance. Even if he is not picking up wickets, he won't go for too many. Even if the opposition is targeting him, he might end up picking up 2-3 wickets as well. So he's
Yeah.
a very clever bowler at that, and I wouldn't mind him being the fifth bowling option because he can bat as well. I think I've already spoken lips and bound about Ashwin batting, and I think he's a better batter than Shardul Thakur in all conditions.
For me, yeah, that is obviously there. But what concerns me is at this point you're still very dicey about the number 8 position. At one point you want to go with the Shardul Thakur, then you are bringing Ashwin out of nowhere.
But
I
I
mean,
will, it's
you
a
are
choice
not
of
even.
plenty. It's a choice of plenty,
I mean,
don't you think?
I
Because
think
we have
I
players in
It was
form.
even a bit out of nowhere as well, because remember during the selection meeting as well, it was told that they were looking at an off spinner, they considered an off spinner.
to be very frank, I would have accepted that if you were playing Ashwin at least in the West Indies series or somewhere here down the line. But
Hmm.
you not even consider him anywhere in the last 2 years. He
Yeah.
was not
This
even
is
part of the
Indian
plan.
selection, and I think by
Yeah,
now I
so
have already got accustomed to it. So
see,
it's
I'm
not a
very
surprise
happy
that
for
Ashwin is
Ashwin.
coming into the, yeah.
See, I'm very happy for Ashwin. I really wanted Ashwin to be part of the World Cup squad because of the fact that we are playing in India
In
and we are
India,
playing.
yeah.
I always felt he's better than Akshar Patel, and I always felt like if you're going with a number 8, Ashwin is the best one out there. But now the issue for me is like last World Cup we had a number 4 issue. I think this World Cup we have a number 8 issue. We have jumped 4 places down. We have a number 8 issue because we want a
We
batter,
also have a
we
number
want a ball
five
who can
issue,
bat.
but that is also a choice of plenty because Surya Kumar Yadav is scoring runs. Ishan Kishan, whenever he gets an opportunity, he is knocking at the doors. So
Yeah,
you still be confused because Shreyas Iyer hasn't really contributed in whatever opportunities he has
he's got two
gotten both on
opportunities.
the
Very
field and
very
at the bat.
unfair on Shreyas to be honest because
No,
got run
Yeah,
out
but
today.
today I just felt like, Shreyas kind of seemed like he was under a lot of pressure as well.
pressure, yeah,
Um,
exactly, and you are
No,
bound
it
to
was
feel
not
the pressure
easy
because
for
the
him to
middle order
bat
is
when he
firing.
came
it
into
was
the
not. It was not. But yeah, I mean, Harsha Bhogle made a very, very interesting point where, and this is something very Harsha, right? He spoke about how Shreyas Iyer came onto the pitch and then again tied his shoe. Now, I am someone who's very bad at when it comes to tying his shoes. I am someone whose shoelaces are all over the place. But then he mentioned a very right point. I mean, like when you're a batter, when you know you're gonna wear your pads, probably the first thing you tie is your shoelaces. Your gloves probably will be still unlatched, but then your shoe is something you always tie as a batter in the most in probably the best way possible. So for him to come on there, he just felt like he was a little bit under pressure, and even during that time in that brief period he spent, right, he played a shot. I think it was not Cameron Green. Who was the player shot mid wicket? I don't remember now. But he was basic. It was a very good shot off the middle of the bat. It was stopped, and Shreyas kind of looked a little annoyed that it was stopped. And then the very next ball, he plays his shot, goes to Cameron Green, takes it single. He just looked really out of sorts mentally, I would
See, the
say. And I can
problem with
understand.
Shreyas Iyer is that mental block, number one, like you mentioned. But I
Yeah.
also feel that he now, I mean, if you consider other batters who are fighting for that number five position, you have a Ishan Kishan, Surya Kumar Yadav. They don't have a specific. Okay, Surya Kumar Yadav, we would probably say that a sweep shot hasn't really worked for him in recent times. But then again, Shreyas Iyer and short ball is a serious concern, because even in the game against Pakistan, where he made his comeback, he was looking extremely good. He played those cover drives and straight drives, and he was looking merry. But Harris Rauf bowled that one short delivery. He middled
Yeah.
it, and it went straight to the mid wicket fielder. So
Yeah.
that
Ah,
is going to play at the back of his mind as well, that he has a specific weakness that the teams are targeting, that some of the other players like a Ishan Kishan or a Surya Kumar Yadav does not really have.
yeah. And also, his luck is also not run in his favor. To be very fair, I mean, with that innings, he looked very good. If not for that day, maybe that would have been a boundary and he would have maybe gotten going. But today as well, look, he got run out. I mean, we can say he was looking jittery, but the way in which he got dismissed, it was not like he can blame himself for that at the end of the day. Now, it's a cheap dismissal at the end of the day, but runouts are still runouts, right? You
Yeah.
don't want to be getting run out, especially when you want to cement a place. That's why I still think next game in Indore and come the game in Rajkot, if he can score some runs, maybe score a
And
good
I think
couple of
he'll
50s,
he'll have
that's
a
a great
great
one.
opportunity scoring in Indore and Rajkot, because of what we have had in the past. I
Yeah.
think Rajkot is going to be a belter,
And
and
Indore as
also I
well.
feel Indore is also going to be a high scoring ground
Small
as well.
ground, very small
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah.
No wonder that crowd did not get a World Cup because I think they have mandatory requirements for World Cup boundaries. I don't
Yeah.
know what Chinnaswamy is going to do for that, but either way. The way opening partnership was going, I thought we were going to win by 10 wickets. Yeah, I mean, today's pitch was very interesting for that reason. More players with more confusion. I don't think there are a lot of more players. I think they are very sorted. I think Ishan Kishan will play number 5 for India. Today, I felt it was another
But
opportunity he wasted. He should have really stayed till the end, batting at number 5.
but my question to you, Evil, now is, I mean, KL Rahul is a decent keeper still, and if you're gonna play Ishan Kishan almost 100%, why not make him keep then? I mean, KL Rahul is a very good
No,
outfielder.
that's where there's still a confusion.
Exactly.
It's a shootout between
I
Surya, Shreyas, and Ishan for the number 5
Yeah.
spot. So I think at the end of the series, who's in a better form and come the warm-up games, who plays a better knock, will
Mm.
possibly start against Australia.
So
It's on
that's
yeah.
where I still feel Ishan Kishan and Shreyas are, especially there's a shootout there, because that's the only reason I can
Yeah,
see
because I
Shreyas
think Surya
not.
Kumar Yadav is still far behind in the ball game when you
Absolutely. I
compare them
still
with the
don't
two
think
others.
he'll play in the team when Hardik Pandya comes back. I still believe that, unfortunately, I mean, today, I mean, I'll not get into that yet, but I mean, what the knock he played was absolutely mature. A player who, of his stature today, finally, played the kind of
Surya.
knock you want Surya to play.
Yeah.
But that's the only reason why I feel Ishan Kishan and Ishan Kishan is not keeping. Because if you had 100% certainty that Ishan Kishan is keeping, you wouldn't train KL Rahul's keeping. Then you would be like, okay, KL, you can go ahead and do what you're more comfortable at by doing
Yeah.
outfielder, being an outfielder. But the only reason that they're still not sure if Shreyas Iyer or Ishan Kishan is in that team is one of the only reasons I see him still keeping. But if today is anything to go by, India were a bit lucky, right? For example, the Manas Labuschagne wicket,
Yeah.
that was probably the biggest luck out there. That was the one moment in the match where I felt like, okay, today is India's day. And then the run out as well, where he
Yeah.
missed a very regulation keeping chance,
Yeah.
and then that converted into a run out. So
Yeah.
that's where I felt like Australia were also not in the game as they would have liked to, and that kind of played into India's hands. But what happens when these kind of mistakes start costing us the World Cup?
No,
So
but seriously,
You
fielding is
can't
going to
drop
be
them
a
or
huge
trail
concern,
properly.
according to me, because it's not the first time that India has fielded like this. Even in the Asia Cup, I think they were very,
mm,
very loose. They were not the
yeah,
best team, best fielding team in that competition. And even
Yeah.
today, I think India were lackluster. And it's going to be a huge concern if India decides to go ahead with Ishan Kishan playing in the playing 11. I think they should hand over the keeping responsibilities to Ishan Kishan.
absolutely, absolutely.
I think that's a shootout at this point. I
Mm.
think anybody who performs well gets a nod. I think that's what couple that question answered. I mean, fielding is an issue. You can't drop a Warner on 8th of October and say, "Oh my gosh, he scored 100 against," just because nobody's gonna
That's
buy
so.
it.
But that's where, I mean, just looking at Kapil's question, right? Look at the Sri Lanka match. We were on top of every chance that we got.
So
So
I think it's the intensity as well.
it's the
India are not
intensity.
intense at this
Yeah.
point. I think India are preserving it for the
India is
World
like
Cup.
that at this point of Indian fielders are like those middle benchers who are like, agar man kiya to we will attend the class properly, or agar man nahi kiya to we'll write something in the notebook and waste our
Yeah,
time.
is the World Cup going to be the last tournament? I'm nobody to answer this, but I certainly think this could be the last for many of them because I at least think there will be a era change or a handover of something or the other. But that's what we expect after every tournament, isn't it? It doesn't happen
I
often.
mean, look at if you look at from
if
2019 World Cup to
if
this World Cup,
India
look
goes
at how
on to win, I think
many.
some of the players will still go on to play for another 2 3 months just to be that World Cup winning player. But other than that, I think if India loses, I think somebody is going to lose their captaincy and probably a spot as well.
Yeah, I think the seniors will be the ones who will have to step down,
Yeah.
But
obviously.
I think talking about Rohit Sharma, I think I have been very impressed with the form that he has shown
Yeah,
in the Asia Cup. I think he was under pressure because everybody was talking about Gill. Shubman Gill is going to do this, do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
He is in a purple patch of form. But the starts that Rohit Sharma provided along with Shubman Gill, I think
yeah,
that was very, very crucial, especially in the game against Pakistan, where they really
yeah.
dominated. I think
Hmm.
in the game against Nepal as well, I think whatever game we got, it was a very clinical performance with the bat at least from Team India. Uh, Even in the game against Sri Lanka, they started off all
Yeah.
guns blazing,
I
80
think
of
that was the
11
reason we
overs.
won the game ultimately. If not for that start, we
Exactly.
would have fallen quite short
Absolutely. I mean, that's also one good thing about India. If I just feel in the past few
this year,
weeks, right?
actually.
Weeks, or yeah, this year actually, Indian opening has looked a little bit more aggressive than what we have seen. It's not uber aggressive like
Indian batting has
Australia
been the most
or
aggressive this year.
yeah.
If you look, Virat Kohli's strike rate this year has been 115,
Hmm.
which is career best one-day cricket.
Yeah, yeah.
All that it be with KL Rahul as well.
Come
He's batting at a decent clip.
Yeah, I
This is
think
when we
KL
measured
Rahul, I
it.
was just coming to that point. I think KL Rahul is best suited for knocks like this. When you need
Hmm.
130 of 140 deliveries. If it was 180, 190, because we were not talking about KL Rahul, we were speaking about Surya Kumar Yadav playing that mature knock. But I think if you talk about maturity, I think KL Rahul is that perfect player in that middle order whom you need when the team is collapsing or there is a certain sort of a collapse going on. Because even in the game against Sri Lanka, India lost 3 quick wickets after that beautiful start from Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma. India lost 3 quick wickets, and then you saw that in that middle period,
Yeah,
KL Rahul did play and get 39 of 43 in that sort of a
yeah.
situation. So I think he's a very good player.
Hmm.
If you ask him to play at a strike rate of in between 80 to 100, I think he's very good in that middle order.
I think
But
that's what you need from a number four in one-day internationals
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
anyway.
But my only problem being if you are chasing well in excess of 300 in certain games, then I think he can just drop down a notch or probably give players like Hardik Pandya or Ishan Kishan a chance to come in ahead because they'll make up the runs very quickly. I mean, the dot balls that they play, they'll make up the ball versus dot ball versus run scored ratio. They'll make it up very quickly.
I still think K. Rahul has still got another gear up his sleeve as well, which he can still use. We are still underrating him because we know what he can do in T20 format.
Yeah.
Right? We still underrate him because we still say he takes a lot of time. That's not the case, right?
I
He's
mean,
got that power game with him where he can he can use 360 degree of the ground.
yeah.
He's got exemplary range against pace where he can score all around the ground, even against spin. So I think KL Rahul can use it. I mean, he's a all
But I think if we
practice.
compare, if we have a stats of KL Rahul's batting performance when India is chasing well in excess of 300, I think you won't have very good record. I think he averages somewhere between 25 to 27 with a strike rate of 90 to 100.
But
So
I
he
want to see
just
how
gets
many
going,
times
and
has that happened as
You
well,
know,
right?
that has
for
happened
me,
quite a
guys,
lot. I mean, not quite a lot, but 8 to 10 instances. So
but you
that's
know what,
I
for me,
think
guys, I think KL is also that kind of a player who we speak about, for example, Rohit Sharma, right? When he used to play in the middle order, and then when he went to
Yeah.
open, what really changed is he got the freedom to set the tone. I think for KL Rahul, the way he's become, the kind of player he's become now, he likes the tone to be set for him already. Like he so that he can narrow his focus. Like for example, today he had to play a knock where he just had to ensure that he didn't lose his wicket and the runs were flowing, right? But now at the same time, I still believe like what Abel said, when he comes at number 4 and India need let's say a 180 of 150, 130 balls, I think then his focus will be to score runs at a quick pace. Compared to that, when he opens the inning, I believe he kind of struggles with the amount of freedom he gets, where he has to set the tone, where he has to either go after. So he gets confused between should I go after the bowling or should I preserve my wicket. But when he's told if he has to preserve his wicket or he has to go after the bowling, either one of the situations when it just comes down to it, when that focus is narrowed, when he's told already what he has to do, it's then it becomes easier for him. Give him the mission and he'll accomplish it. I think that's the kind
Yeah.
of player he's become now.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because at least for India at this point, you have a solid number 4 that is sorted out. The only issue which India have at this point is
Number 8.
number 5 to an extent, yes, where you have to choose between Ishan, Surya, or Shreyas. I would still choose Shreyas because somewhere down the line, I believe he's gonna play a big knock for you, and
No,
he's
for
too
sure,
good a
for
player.
sure. I have been a huge Shreyas Iyer fan, but I think looking at all the pros and cons, I think Ishan Kishan is putting on a strong show because he was consistent
But do you
before
think
the
so? I mean,
Asia Cup
he
as well.
played the knock against Pakistan. Okay, he played 30 odd against Sri Lanka. He looked clueless to be
You
against
know,
Sri Lanka in that
yeah.
against
No, but I
Bangladesh, where
think
he
at,
came
at, at that
ignored.
point, you needed that sort of a partnership with KL Rahul, the knock that he played of 30 odd runs against Sri
But
Lanka in
Yeah,
the
but
first game.
I just leave that knock aside. Even there, he took 60 odd balls. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But today I felt like maybe somewhere down the line
you
he's
know,
wasting his opportunities as well. Maybe he gets stuck in the crease a little bit
yeah.
more. That's
Hmm.
not a good thing.
I also feel today Australia kind of made it easier for Ishan Kishan when he came on because they just presume that that he's gonna he's gonna go after the likes of Adam Zampa because the ball is coming into him. But I just felt like Pat Cummins, what he should have done is he opened up the field, right. When Ishan Kishan came on to bat against Adam Zampa, he had both long off and long on. He should have probably put the long off or the mid on up or the mid off up, or in fact, I would have really like to see him put both of them up and force Ishan Kishan to play over the top. Because what I felt against Sri Lanka, even that knock you mentioned, Sandimani, even against Bangladesh, he sometimes tends to get stuck against spinners, where he doesn't
Exactly.
really seem to be able to take singles, where he really gets under a shell. That is something you
and
don't
and
see
and
with
that builds
players
a
like
lot of pressure on the non-striker end as
on
well.
the
That
non-strikers.
was
Like
one of the
against
reasons why
KL
KL
Rahul,
Rahul got out in the game
exactly,
against Sri Lanka.
precisely my points. That's one issue he needs to work on. His power game is on point. To the kind of shots he played against Adam Zampa, he muscled the delivery down the ground. But the moment he has to take those singles against fast bowlers, also I've seen him do well when it comes to taking singles and doubles. But against spinners, especially when a spinner is bowling really well, turning the ball a little bit more, he seems to struggle.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely. I mean,
and one
that's
thing I did not really understand was Australia's game plan because I
Yeah,
understand that you have a, I mean, batting heavy side where you're playing,
yeah,
and your number 11 is Adam Zampa, number 10 is Pat Cummins, who is coming in and scoring 20 out, one of
yeah,
nine. And but my point being, you did not have enough specialist bowlers, and
yeah.
come the World Cup, I don't want to see Marcus Stoinis as your fifth bowling option. Yes, he did well in that series against India. I mean,
South Africa.
Cameron Green did well in that series against India early on, opening the bowling along with
I
Mitchell
think
Stark.
with Marcus Stoinis, I think they've found a new ball bowler in him since the South Africa series. He was opening the bowling there,
But
and
Abel,
maybe
I
they
feel
feel.
Cameron Green is a better bowler, a better new ball bowler than
I know he did a
Marcus
decent
Stoinis.
job in South Africa. Maybe that's the reason they had a continuity with him. But I think once Stark and Hazelwood is back,
no,
I don't think let it be Marcus Stoinis or Cam Green. They're both are gonna get that new ball unless you're gonna you
But
are gonna have
one thing
people
I would have
introduce.
loved to see is another spinner in that side because I
Yeah,
know you can
that's
have
what
a
even I
Travis Head
feel.
coming in and bowling,
Yeah,
or you can also have a, there was Marnus Labuschagne, there was Steven Smith in
yeah,
the side. So if nobody else, you could have probably tried them because you saw Matt Short coming in and really
yeah.
putting the screws on the batters, and you had
No,
two
I really
right-handers
didn't
going on.
understand Matt Shot selection as well, Sandeep. To be very honest, that's what I was
Yeah,
talking to
Matt
Jay
Short is not
before.
your number 8. Come on, that was an insult to Matt Short. Matt Short as a batter, and it was an insult to, I mean, to the Indians. He was coming in
Yeah,
and bowling in the death overs because they
yeah,
did not
yeah, I
have
mean,
enough.
we just spoke about it as well, and the only reason rational I can see is if you look at the squad as well, right? If you look at the specialist spinners, they've got Tanveer Sangha, they've got they've got Adam Zampa, and then they've got the likes of I mean these are the only two bowlers that are specialist spinners who are
I'm
in this
also
squad,
not a
and they're
fan of
both
Tanvir
leg spinners,
Sangha, so
right?
I'm really surprised with that choice because I don't think that he has made a name. Uh, in the Big Bash League or wherever he has played, T20 leagues that he has played, he hasn't made that sort of a name to be selected for that ODI.
Yeah,
I think he's a X factor player, or probably Australia's surprise factor, surprise element in that squad
yeah,
that they might
correct.
employ against some of the weaker teams. But
Maybe, yeah.
not really impressed with.
I was
Uh,
very surprised as well with
yeah,
his call up to the national team. I don't think he's part of the World Cup squad though.
He's not part of the
He's
World
not
Cup
part of the
squad.
World
Yeah.
Cup squad. So I think they are going with Ashton Agar as of now. If he's fit, he remains in the World Cup squad. I think Ashton Agar would have made a lot of difference even today.
Yeah.
But talking about which, finally, before we conclude, I think second ODI, third ODI is going to be another trial and error for India. Maybe try out few more things, especially when it comes to bowling. Maybe rest
but this
Bumrah
is
next match.
starting to be
Keep
a
Siraj.
big problem for India if players that don't really have a place for them in their playing 11, players like Surya Kumar Yadav, Mohammad Shami, are suddenly starting to perform really well. So
I think it's a good headache. It's not a bad one.
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
a good headache, but then it's not nice to ask somebody who has picked up a 5 wicket haul to ask them to sit out for the game against Australia on
I
the
mean, I think
8th.
that's where the communication is very important now. Now,
you
for
need to.
example,
Yeah.
I think they've already communicated in the open to Surya Kumar Yadav that he's getting only 2 games. Yesterday, Rahul Dravid clearly said that he's only going to get 2 games. Similarly, Shami as well, I think they have already might have communicated that you're not a starting bowler.
Hmm.
Or you never know. With number 8, and with that bowling person, I still think everybody's with the contention. I think at least with the batters, they've maybe communicated very clearly that you're going to have this as a designated role. You're going to be doing this, and that's why I think finally before we end, I think KL Rahul the captain. I mean, he's mentioned Gill the captain, but I think KL Rahul the wicket keeping captain is much better than KL Rahul the on-field captain who's just a fielder, because I think he's reading the game much better, standing behind the wickets. You saw
Yeah.
that during the Asia Cup as well. A lot of suggestions were put into Rohit Sharma and the bowler's head from KL Rahul, the wicket-keeping captain. We often said, wicket keepers who become captains have a better understanding of the game. And KL Rahul is really improving his captaincy skills to another level with him being the
Yeah.
wicket keeper now.
And today I was especially impressed because the 5 bowlers, he only had 5 bowlers, he had to rotate them. But even then, he did not hold back a Bumrah
Yeah,
or a Shami till the last minute. He brought them on in the 38th over, despite Jadeja having overs left. He brought, Bumrah again back in the
yeah,
42nd, 43rd over, and
yeah.
Bumrah delivered. He almost got the wicket of Pat Cummins as well. If that ball had fallen into the hands of Shreyas Iyer, they would have probably bundled up earlier. So he took those risks, something we did not see him take when he was captaining Lucknow Super Giants.
Or
I
before
remember,
India as well.
yeah, and India
But
as
I
well.
feel I feel KL Rahul's arc as a captain has been better, and I would rate him higher than Hardik Pandya the captain, because when you talk about captaincy, a lot depends on what your relationship is with the coach as well and the support staff. And I think
Hmm.
KL Rahul and Rahul Dravid is a far better combination than
Yeah, the
Hardik Pandya and
chemistry.
Rahul Dravid, where there is a clear communication gap.
I thought KL Rahul Dravid did not go well when KL Rahul was very dead as a on-field captain. I think he's reading the game much better.
Hmm.
That's very important over here. And as he mentioned as well, just to make sure Shardul only comes back on the 50th over, not giving him that 10th over to finish him off, and where I think it was Josh Inglis who was batting there
Yeah.
to make sure that he doesn't go for the onslaught. That was beautiful captaincy. Then he brought
Yeah.
Shami again. Shami picked up a 5 for there. So that's where I think he's thinking a lot as a captain, and he's playing much mature as well. I think the responsibility is doing wonders for him. I know Hardik Pandya will get the nod ahead because
IPL.
IPL is definitely there.
We've seen
And
it happen before.
and we were not fans of KL Rahul's captaincy either. I mean, there's a new facet he has added
Yeah.
in post-injury. And
But I'm not a fan of Pat Cummins' captaincy as well. I think he is a very defensive captain.
I mean,
You,
today just
you
felt in many ways, Sandeep, I think the batting kind of threw them off, right? I
No,
just feel
it's
after
not just
50
about
overs,
today. Jaden, if you remember, even
Yeah.
in the
Ashes
series
as well.
against India, yeah, back
Exactly.
in the day when they played that bilateral series against India, I felt Pat
But
Cummins was
I also feel,
off.
Pat Cummins is one of those players who's a better test captain than a one-day captain, than a white ball format captain.
I still feel that if you're not bent on considering the sandpaper gate scandal, if you're not bent on remembering that every time
They
Steven Smith
are.
gets the
They are. They
captaincy,
very much are.
I think Steven Smith is a far superior
Absolutely.
captain than
Yeah.
Pat
Yeah,
Cummins.
yeah, yeah.
You saw
And
that
I
in the
think it
bottom of
is,
the trophy for
yeah,
itself.
You know what?
it is absolutely very foolish and politically, it's a political blunder from the Australian Cricket Board to go ahead with Pat Cummins and not give Steven Smith this
I
opportunity,
think
because I feel,
Steve Smith was the captain when Australia won the series in March, right?
yeah,
Hmm.
he took
Yeah, so
over.
yeah.
But Sandeep, it's also a very cultural thing, right? I think I remember one of these comments by an Australian player. I
It
can't
does not
remember his
matter
name.
because Steven Smith is your vice captain. You can't have
No,
him as your vice captain if
It's
you are not.
like it's like this thing, right? Where culturally the Australian cricket captain comes next to the PM. Like, they consider him to be the probably a big figure in the country. And what has really gone against David Warner, Steve Smith, is that the Australian public is not forgiven them for the sandpaper scandal, right? And they're in the team. Look at Cameron Bancroft. He's done beautifully in the domestic cricket, but he's not going to find a place in the team only because of the sandpaper scandal. But the only reason why these two players are still getting a chance to play in the team, nothing against them, is still because of the fact that they've done so much for Australia, and they still
That is exactly my
better
point. They have
batters
done
in
so
the-
much for
I
Australia,
don't
and
think
they are
so that's the
performing.
case anymore, because
It
Steve
shouldn't
Smith
be.
has captained Australia already multiple times.
Yeah,
They should have
he
given
is
him, but
he is the stand-in
Um,
captain, right? Whenever Pat Cummins gets injured or does not play, Steven Smith steps up. He is their
But
vice
I still
captain.
feel, from what I can understand, right? I'm not an Australian. I'm no one to comment on the situation. But from what I've observed, the kind of flack that they got, I don't think the kind of flack they got. Like, we've seen Shahid Afridi bite the ball before. We've seen much brazen acts of ball tampering. But it's just the fact that an Australian captain is such a figure in Australian public and social life. I unfortunately don't think Steve Smith is going to go beyond vice captaincy or a stand-in captain.
maybe.
That's just how it's going to be.
Maybe.
Because
But
Pat Cummins is
I think it's a political blunder nonetheless, because
I-
he's by far the best
Yeah.
captain, and
I think
he's
it's
one of
more
the
of a
best
cricketing
right now
blunder than a
across
political
all
blunder.
teams as well.
I think
Yeah.
Because
it's
he
more
has
of
a
a
great
cricketing
mind,
blunder.
great cricketing mind.
Yeah, he has.
Absolutely. And that's about it from us for tonight. I mean, we'll be joining you guys on 24th evening after the second one day.
And won't we
Then
be discussing World Cup squads? Because very interesting.
We will be.
we will be. I
Yeah.
think we'll start with a live stream of
We
World Cup
might
squad
be. Yeah.
or a recorded videos. I think whatever you people want. If you want more communicative discussions, chat can comment below if you want to come and talk about World
Very,
Cup
very
squad. I
happy
think
for
we'll start off with the
Hassan
favorites of the World Cup. Pakistan, my favorites of the World Cup. Pakistan to start off. So
Now world
Pakistan,
number
because
two. I think they lost their world number one because India won today.
So, I think
Unfor-
post the Asia Cup, they were hanging by thread anyway. 0.74 rating points is what
they
they
were on
had.
this, yeah.
And this
Yeah,
match.
now
the fact
they're
that
number
people
two
don't
because India
play-
won this.
Yeah, India are the world number one, all three formats. So either ways, Pakistan are still the favorites to win the World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
India
Badsha
not the
Babur
favorites.
for the win.
Bobby Badshaw, let's go. Either way, at least they announced the squad today. I thought they forgot about that as well. So they
Very
didn't know who
interesting
was added
squad.
to India apparently.
Well, it's nice to see that they remembered Hassan Ali again. So I think they were trying to. As far as I know, there was a huge. I think there was a lot of selection panel
But
discussion.
Kapil, there is
and-
a sorry, Jaren. I just
Yeah,
saw
go ahead,
Kapil's
go
question,
ahead,
but
anyone.
I was just saying that there is a huge difference between getting caught for match fixing and ball tampering, because even Sachin Tendulkar was allegedly. I mean,
But that is exactly where. Now you look at India, right? Indian players have committed worse. I'll add another name. I mean, have committed worse crimes. I mean, I'm not talking about these Indian players, but I'm talking about the Indian players in the past.
I
Right?
think match fixing is
It's-
different. I think it's a
it's
criminal
a
act.
crime. Yeah, it's a criminal
No,
act.
it is a crime. It's an offense against the game. But the point being, my point being again, it just goes back to the fact that Australian public holds them at such a high regard that you will not see even Australian player commits match fixing, right? He won't be allowed to touch a bat or a ball even
Yeah.
even in
And
backyard
that is,
cricket.
if you
That's
want,
just
I
how
can go
brutal
and
they are.
for I think 30 minutes
I
at
think there's
least
no
on the two
Australian-
players that have been mentioned by Kapil, because
Yeah.
There
after
is no-
what they did for the sport and after how they repaid their country doing the acts that they did, they shouldn't have been allowed to participate in political rallies and another
Yeah.
player who is just coming in and commentating Hindi
Also,
commentary.
it's the political rallies that help them
Pathetic.
get
Yeah,
back
yeah.
into the team.
Let's not get into that.
Yeah.
That case is still
It's a
pending, though.
separate
To be
debate.
very
That
honest,
case is still pending.
that case is still pending. It's not yet done. So we'll talk about it. Maybe we can have an episode on match fixing scandal as a whole, the dark truth of cricket.
Yeah,
Thank you,
we'll
sir.
become investigative journalists. And,
I think the Mohammed brothers comes to my mind, Amir and Asif.
I think we only remember the good Mohammed brothers, that is Shami and Siraji. Yeah. That's a good one. All right. Good night, all of you. See you all very
Good night,
soon. And
guys.
do not forget to download Boomer 11 once again. And take care. See you all very soon. Bye bye.